This video is an example use case of using OWASP Generative AI Security Project AI Threat Defense Compass during a deployment of Microsoft Copilot within your organization. The AI frontier is full of tons of riches and benefits and ways that you can improve both how you do work and how your organization does work. But it's also full of dangerous unknown unknowns and some well-known ways that it can cause harm within your organization. And that's the challenge. How do I gain the benefits of using all of this amazing AI functionality, but avoid all of the ways that it can cause harm within my organization? That's the purpose behind OWASP GenAI Security Project AI Threat Defense Compass. It's to help you identify and action AI cyber threat resilience. It was created for CISOs, red teamers, privacy officers, your legal teams, anyone who is concerned or tasked with deploying AI securely within your organization. It operationalizes all of the great resources that you get from the OWASP GenAI project, all trying to answer the question, what is the worst thing I need to be prepared for? Compass uses the OODA loop so that you can move at the speed of the AI frontier. So that's observe, what problem, what things do I need to be concerned about? What are we doing? Orient, so what do I know? What don't I know that I should know? How do I make a decision? And then what decision do I make? So again, the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act. And it's meant to be iterative. It's meant so that you can get to a decision quickly, act on that decision, and then go back and follow the loop again so that I observe, orient, make another decision, and act. You also want to be able to integrate AI threat and vulnerabilities within your existing threat and vulnerability process. So Compass uses those same, the CPE, CVE, CWE, defend, and then attack and atlas frameworks. In this example, we're going to look at Microsoft Copilot, deploying Microsoft Copilot. Compass is divided into different profiles so that you can actually have specific strategies for the different types of AI deployments within your organization. So profile 1 would look at external threats, so not necessarily the AI within your organization, but how AI would be used against your organization by your adversaries. Profile 2A is looking at the internal existing AI. So you have a lot of applications already within your organization that have AI. What do you need to do to be able to defend and mitigate against the existing AI? And then the third profile is Agentic or LLM project threats. And then the one that we're looking at today is actually deploying a licensed version of an AI tool. Profile 3 is for specifically acknowledging that there is a profile for specific to people actually building models. That is really outside of the scope of what we address within Compass, but it is acknowledged that that is a concern. The first step you would do when you use Compass is you go out to the website, download the playbook, download the actual Compass tool, which is just a spreadsheet. And then within the playbook, go to the threat profiles in Appendix A. Now, this is really just a checklist of different things that you need to be concerned about. It's pretty comprehensive. You don't necessarily want to try and address everything all at once, but go through and look at the different items that you do need to think about, and then start building out your priority list. And this list isn't necessarily comprehensive. There's probably a million other things that you want to think about, but the point is to help you get started and start building out your strategy. Once you have identified the top things that you want to get more information on or start being able to put a plan in place for, you would put those in your observe, orient, dashboard. This is really your snapshot The purpose behind this is so that you can kind of have one single page where you're kind of tracking exactly the status of a specific deployment or issue that you're addressing. We're going to move everything into a different tab to add additional details. But the first point when you start looking at a business problem that you're trying to solve or address within Compass is you want to define what business success is. Like what actually would be good at the end of this project. So in the observe objective threat profile, I'm actually going to put my business case objectives at the very top. And you'll notice that I've listed here, deploy enterprise Microsoft Copilot to improve productivity by 20%. So I actually have some numbers that I've put in place, and target improvement by $6 million. Actually having numbers of what you're trying to achieve will be really important when you start looking at your threat and impact information, so you can actually balance the benefits of deploying the solution against the threats and potential business cost. And here, again, this is where I'm going to list out more details about from the different profiles around, what are the things that I'm concerned about, and then what are my defense mitigations that I need to put into place. At the very top of the page, you'll see that there's a image that shows the different types of deployments, whether it's AI within a solution. In our example, we've actually deployed it using an enterprise license right here. And the important part is you may still be impacted by something like a weight stealing or model poisoning, but how you address it and the cost to your organization will be different if you're a model deployer versus a model user. In most cases, for each of the models, they have system cards that provide additional information about the model, how it was trained, what the data was used, how reinforcement, the purpose behind, the special, if there's a special use of that model, what it was designed to be used for. Microsoft Copilot actually doesn't have its own system card because it's an accumulation of many different models. Microsoft provides the information that you would typically find in a system card within their responsible AI framework, their transparency notes, and then specific FAQs for each of their Copilot products. You can, if there is a model that you find that is being used within one of the deployments, you can search and find more information by just searching on the model card, on the model's name and searching for the model card. Compass uses what I call attack surface modeling, and it's really a quick, is this a 5-alarm fire or a 1-alarm fire? It allows you to say, okay, how panicked do I need to be about this issue, or how concerned am I about this specific threat that we've identified? Now, when you go into the Observe Attack Surface Analysis tab, this is where you're really putting more definition around that 1 to 5, that attack surface modeling 1 to 5 criteria. You'll notice here that I've added in the critical stage, I've added some issues that we had from our very first tab about things that I listed that needed to be remediated, like OSINT gathering. And again, that's not necessarily a technical control within the AI that I would use to address that. Maybe I'm going to go out and use a data broker removal tool to get all of as much sensitive data from my organization off the web or where it can be found. But this tab is really for you to go in and say, okay, that 1 to 5, that attack surface modeling 1 to 5, what makes this critical? What makes this a high? What makes this a medium? Now you notice here at the bottom, I have my low range and high range. There are numbers in there right now, but you do need to put those in for your organization. Some organizations, you'll see here, low range of $5 million for catastrophic. There are organizations where $1 million would be the low range for a catastrophic event. but this is a place to get started and start putting some details behind those rankings that you've created. The next step is to identify your nuclear disaster scenarios. It's important to kind of think about what is the worst day? What is the worst possible thing that could happen? And then work backwards. How do you make sure that that never happens? You want to make sure and include your cleanup costs. How much would it cost to, if that nuclear disaster event happens, how costly will that be to your organization? And that would go down here in your scenarios. I've listed out 3. You could have just 1. You could add 5. The point is start giving yourself some numbers so that when you're trying to help your organization make decisions, you have some calibration about whether you should or shouldn't take a risk. Now that we have some idea of what we're trying to do, what the threats are, I'm going to start gathering more information around our deployment. In this tab, we have the orient for vulnerabilities. So I've listed out here, these were vulnerabilities that I've mapped to the with criticality scores. So I went to the CVE, I did a search, found some issues, I did some mapping. Here's my 5-point scoring. I've mapped them to the OWASP top 10, and further to the right on this tab, you'll see the Agentic top 15. Now, you'll want to go out and look at cve.org for your specific deployment, whatever that is, and then make sure you have the latest, most up-to-date information. So here I went to cve.org, I've typed in Copilot, and it actually brought up specific CVEs mapped to Microsoft Copilot. Now I'm going to start looking at my impact incident information. So I'm going to go to the Orient AI incidents databases and start finding actual financial impact information. So here's one, shadow ray, significant financial evidence of significant financial impact to organizations. So if someone is saying, hey, I'm not worried about how these different models are built. You can point to something like Shadow Ray and say, hey, no, there was significant financial harm caused to organizations from Shadow Ray because they didn't actually do any sort of third-party diligence on what they were deploying within their organization. So these are listed. These are just examples mapped. For your specific use case, you would want to go out to each of the different AI incident databases and see if you can find information specific around whatever AI use case you're using that you're deploying within your organization. So here I've clicked on AI incident database. I've added Copilot within the search bar, and then it brings up specific information around Microsoft Copilot. Now I've went to the bottom again. I'm still on the incident database page. I went to the very bottom. There's the legal and regulatory page. You can click on any of these links and find the most up-to-date information around legal and regulatory. I've clicked on the George Washington University AI litigation database, typed in Microsoft Copilot, and there it brings up actually information about litigation related to Microsoft Copilot. Now that I have information about my deployment, I have my business case, I have, positives and negatives, the business, the benefits, and also the potential impact, I can start doing my testing. And that's what this tab is for, the Orient AI red teaming. So you're going to go out, now that you have your deployment, before you release it into production, you're going to do your red teaming and testing. Chances are you're going to find issues. How am I going to start, applying specific ratings to those issues that we found? And BugCrowd actually gives us some guidance on how to rate some of the issues that you've identified within your AI red teaming. You could also use the standard CVSS scoring. Again, there's a little bit of guesswork that goes into this, and then you can convert it into your 5-point scoring. Compass has a number of different reference tabs. On this tab right here, we have the defenses and mitigations. This is just for your reference. Hey, what do we have? What kind of defenses and mitigations are feasible to put in for each of these different deployments? There's also a reference tab for incident response. How should I update my incident response to be AI prepared, as well as my third-party questionnaires? What should I be including within my third-party assessments as I onboard a new vendor if they're using AI within their tool? As well as your incident logging and monitoring. What changes with AI within my environment? What else should I be logging? How is it different than traditional logging and monitoring within my organization? And where should I be doing it? What kind of alerts and what kind of tools are feasible to be able to do this? Now that I have all of this information, I'm ready to build out on this tab my ACT strategy and roadmap. This is where I'm saying, okay, I know what we're trying to do. I have my top things that I'm concerned about. Now, how do I start putting them into remediation or defenses so that I can deploy Microsoft Copilot in the timeline that my organization is asking for us to deploy it. So you start building out your strategy, assigning your owners, and then your timeline. And then you'll go back and update your dashboard and say, okay, the dashboard is there to say, okay, this is where we started. This is what we're working on now. Anytime someone asks you that, hey, what's the current status? What should we be prioritizing? The purpose of the dashboard is to help you kind of consolidate all of that information. Then continue to use that OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act. Compass is as much a methodology as it is a tool, and it is open source. Please download it, take it, modify it, change how you do the ranking, put more rigor around the red teaming scoring. It really is a tool built for you to use so that you can start deploying AI solutions within your organization quickly and as safely as possible. OWASP GenAI Compass is built for you to orient your cybersecurity teams, identify your priorities, incorporate your threats, and then develop your red teaming strategy and then communicate those results to your executive team. This is version 1. We are already planning version 2. The loose strategy is to start planning meetings after the first of the year for version 2 with a release loosely targeted for next August of next year. If you have any feedback or questions, please join the OWASP GenAI Project Slack channel, Team Generative AI SecGov. And I encourage you to see our website for all of the great different projects that come from the Generative OWASP team.